And there we go.
Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. This is Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. Special episode, an inaugural episode, if you will, of what we call the panel, being presented to you by Steelers Game Prep. All right, folks, this is where you have this panel of distinguished and esteemed Steeler heads of various ages and ranges and perspectives on your favorite team, Steelers Nation. We're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, we got a couple of things that we're going to cover today. We still got the list there. Okay, we're going to roll with three main subject areas and try to see how well we can break this down for you and get your minds thinking about the season again, because it creeps up on you. It's not quite as far away as it might seem. So let's start off with some introductions. We'll just have everybody introduce themselves. Of course, you know me, folks. Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again, this time as part of Steelers Nation. Indeed, strong Steelers supporter for well over 40 years, right? And host of Steelers Game Prep, chipping in with the fellas here on the panel, right? And I'm going to step back and let the fellas go ahead and introduce themselves as well.
Okay, well, hey, you guys that you know me, my name is Tony Brown, affectionately known as Steeltown. Longtime Steeler fan. I consider myself a historian, not a new age Steeler fan. I'm old school as they can get. Steeler football, Steeler way, and that's what we're going to get to you today.
All right, go to visionary, 50 plus years, Steeler Nation. I'm here to talk about it all.
Word life. And with that, you have the panel. We do have another member of the panel who will be joining us shortly. We'll let him introduce himself, but we'll tip our hats to Tony V as he comes in and lends his expertise and insight and his own perspective to the panel for all of you. So the first thing we're going to start delving into a little bit here is this draft, right? The 2025 draft. I think a lot of people got, in my opinion, unfairly down on, right? And really got sort of a disappointment aura about this year's draft class, when in fact, I feel like they got a pretty decent haul. I think that there was a lot of drama that sort of crept up surrounding some famous names like Shedeur Sanders, which, by the way, all best wishes to you, brother Shedeur. I hope everything goes well for you, except for any time you have to be lined up across from the Steelers, right?
2 times a year.
Yeah, true indeed. But with that having been said, I think that a lot of people really did sort of check out of the draft and any excitement around this haul of players that we did get. And I think, again, it was a very good haul indeed. So with that being said, we'll talk a little bit about each of the draft picks, giving our perspective on the pick, both as a fit for the team, a fill for a need on the team, and where we see the player and their potential in terms of their impact on the Steelers, both this year and in the near future. So with that being said, I think we should open up. It's only apropos that we open up talking about the first round draft pick. And we think that he certainly is someone that we can all readily get excited about. his name is starting to escape me.
Derek Harmon.
Derek Harmon, excuse me. The very impressive defensive tackle out of Oregon, who, man, if you just the second you start to look at his tape, his film,
I really like this tape.
he jumps out at you to me and to just about everyone who looks at his tape as essentially what we saw early on out of Cam Hayward, and certainly throughout his illustrious career, we see the potential, right, for that type of player. Still certainly a long way to go to fill those very big shoes, but he's that type of a athlete as far as what we have seen out of him in college.
Very active.
Very active.
Always in the mix.
High motor. Very stout against the run, but also equally effective
as a pass
and
rusher.
Dangerous as a pass rusher, right? And I think that combination of skill sets gives him every potential of being a 3-down player, and essentially who we look at as the new young blood in that technique, at least, following in Cam's footsteps.
I quite frankly think he's going to get probably the second most playing time out of all of these rookies.
Okay.
I really believe he's going to be a plug and play day one. You know, get in there, you're at least going to be in the rotation, and then you're going to learn on the fly. And that's not that bad because we have some good guys in there that he can learn from.
Yeah,
Both pass rushing and run stoppers.
Indeed.
So yeah, that's going to be something special once he gets into the fold, and a true rotation of those players really gets to keep them fresh.
Indeed, I agree with that. Look no further than Keanu Benton. Still a young player, but showing more and more improvement and the potential of a high ceiling of being a real solid impact player.
The key to Harmon coming in there, though, is now you can move Benton into his natural position because he was playing a lot in the middle, but he's not a true nose tackle.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think he will be much more served as a replacement for Larry Ogunjobi.
Yeah.
I think that in that role, he will really continue to flourish, develop, and become more and more explosive, not only as the season goes on, but as his career goes on, right? So I totally agree with you about moving or that potential of seeing him play over in that spot where Larry was at, and then having young Harmon come right in and settle into the middle on the other side of Cam.
While we're there at the line, also, and we're skipping over a few just for a second because we're talking about the line, but that 4th round pick,
Big Y.A. Black,
he may be the one with the most snaps because we don't have a true nose tackle. He's not required to rush the ball. He's required to do what he does best, and that's plug him in there and take up 2 cats and stop the run. He is somebody you can actually plug and play from the beginning, and not necessarily have to be a part of that rotation on the ends.
I agree wholeheartedly. On 1st and 2nd down, I think he's going to improve. Just quite honestly, folks, just his size alone is an asset for us to have that kind of a guy that we can plug in there. But looking at his film, he is the real deal when it comes to run stuffing, right?
Definitely.
He shows power and leverage. He's able to command and manipulate a double team. I've seen it regularly on his film.
But let me stop you there. Let's not skip over the 2nd and 3rd pick. But I was excited about that to see them both together, and they're going to be like last year on our offensive side of the ball. We're going to have some young guys, and I'm looking at the development of these young guys because the offensive line is going to be that much better this year. moving into the future. So, since Omar Khan's been there, you got to start these drafts, and you're looking at it from his perspective, and he's building a nice future for us.
Without question, without question. We've seen a couple of drafts where we invested heavily in the offensive line, getting Broderick.
Mhm.
Last year, getting Troy
Fonatano.
Fontana. So we took care of our potentially our future tackles,
Yeah.
right? We also got a nice guard in the future who already got unexpected playing time last
year.
right? And we also have drafted our center of the future. I think we all
those guys are staples for a long time. Get used to those names.
So we're in good position, and we think in terms of personnel in the trenches as far as the offensive line. And then now we've started to really rebuild this defensive line.
Through the draft.
Keanu Benton, we have Derek Harmon, and we also have Y.A. Black, all figuring to be very strong contributors to the line. And then in the edge position, I can't get away from Jack Sawyer. He's the kind of edge, a little bit different body type from a Nick Herbert.
Right.
He's a little thicker, right? A little more stout at the line when it comes to run defense.
Kind of in the mold of a Bud Dupree.
Good comparison, I would say, right? A Bud Dupree. Going to be real solid for you on the run, and occasionally find himself freed up enough to maybe put a little heat on the passer.
Mm-hmm.
But we did get out of order, folks. Derek Harmon was our first round draft pick, and again, I think we all agree he was a very good pick.
Very good pick. The only thing, the knock I have against him, he needs to learn how to finish plays better. He's not a polished finisher.
Okay.
So with that being said, I think we have enough finishers on the team that as long as he's being disruptive like he has been, he can learn how to finish later, and they'll finish it for him.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, and just that he's a natural disruptor is good. If he continues to do that, then that means that he will also consequently end up with more opportunities, right? And with more opportunities to finish these plays, he's got some real finishers around him to learn from, right?
Some good ones.
And he certainly has a coaching staff that has shown the ability to be able to develop players along those lines. So I look for him to really be somebody who we have to keep our eye on.
Indeed.
In terms of really helping out this defense. But going back after Derek Harmon in the third round, we took, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, before we go any further, Tone, weigh in a little bit about your opinion of Harmon. You think he was a good fit and a good pick for them in the first round, trying to bolster the defensive line?
Well, looking at the draft, I give it an A+, and I know I'm an optimist, but I look at what happened at the end of last year and how our season ended, the problem that we had with our season, both on the offensive and defensive line, along with scoring and giving up points. I covered a lot of ground there: offense, defense, trenches, scoring points. So I pretty much covered the whole gambit. But that's what went wrong. So when you figure out what you have to do for the next season, you have to repair what went wrong. So we start with what went wrong. What went wrong is down the stretch. Let's start with the offensive side of the ball because we invested defensively this year. But offensively, what happened was the people that we drafted, that we depended on to bolster our offensive line, all hit a rookie wall at the same time. which was the last 4 games, which happened to be the time that we went into the gauntlet where we played in succession the 4 most dominant offense and defensive lines in football. When I talk about the Ravens, the Chiefs, Philadelphia, the Ravens again, and we actually won one against a very good offensive and defensive front, which was Washington, that actually kicked that whole thing off. Well, at the same time, with the whole center of our line, the rookie that we talked about, both rookies, McCormick was supposed to be a swing guy from the beginning. Daniels was the one that went down, that got hurt. But my point is, just very briefly, we wore down offensively. Defensive line, we had an old Cam Haywood. Not that he didn't do good,
balled out of control.
but he balled out of control. But he wore down. He can't play as many snaps as he had to play last year. And the reason he had to snap because you had Ogunjobi, who had worn down. You had Keanu Benton, who's just in his second year. What they didn't have that the other teams had was depth. They didn't have the rotation. They didn't have enough big bodies.
So with that being said, what's your thoughts on Harmon?
Well, Harmon is exactly what they needed. They needed a younger version of Cam Haywood. If you're expecting this guy to come in and be the savior of the line, that's not what he's supposed to do. If you draft him to come in to give depth and a rotation to the line without a massive drop off, then it's a perfect fit. He's a guy that has a plug and play motor. He can get in, he can get after, and he can disrupt. The biggest problem with our linebackers last year was our defensive line not tying up. When we talked about Yaya is a big man. He's a body in the middle that you can put. He's not going to be a 4-down player. He's not going to be a 3-down player. He's going to be running downs. You put him in the middle. There's the guard. There's the center. Now you got a free linebacker, which we have Hopick back. We have Queen.
You have a bigger year out of Queen, who I think had a heck of a year anyway.
Who's a fast run and hit linebacker. What you need to keep him is clean. Okay, so so you go into the draft again. This is what I'm saying. Are you fulfilling a need? Are you fixing a problem from last year? Defensive line, yes. Offensive line, you really didn't have to, because they are going to get older and more mature just by the calendar changing.
Yeah.
So, what is my thing? Now, we did have a problem running the ball. We had 29 yards running against Baltimore.
So before we get there, you're satisfied with Harmon as an overall first round pick?
Oh yeah, I had him like the second, third, depending on what you were looking for. And this guy is in the mold of Cam Haywood, so I might, as if I was on a fly on the draft board wall, I may have leaned a little bit more towards Harmon than other teams, because he fit my defense better.
That's what people got to realize.
The number 2 and 3. What do I need him to do? Just like Yaya.
Why?
Oh yeah. Why? Anyway, he's the big body in the middle. Like Greg said, we needed a true nose guard. We needed a Jay Wobbles. We needed
340 pounds.
Big man in the middle. He's not going to rush the passer. He doesn't have a quick first step. The problem is you can't move him. Again, we need to free up our linebackers.
So they definitely satisfied. They went
great
hard
pick
in need when they picked up Harmon.
With that being said, he had brought up the issues that would needed to be addressed in running the ball. The next pick.
Right.
This is leading why I'm giving them an A+. This is not on the players, but what they are doing for your team.
So you guys jump right in. We're heading next to talking about our third round draft pick, Caleb Johnson, addressing that need at running back. Certainly, we can say brings every bit of what Najee Harris brought to the table, and I would say also adds a better pedigree in terms of his vision, and also
Speaking of which, the Steelers are on the clock.
and also as breakaway speed that we were looking for and felt was perhaps lacking. Not to knock on Najee Harris, we appreciate his time here, and I feel like he did some really nice things. But I think at the same time, this Caleb Johnson has the potential of being every bit the back Najee was, but better in some areas, particularly with his vision.
Well, Najee was a singles hitter that you could put him in. He's going to get his carries. He's going to get his touches. He's going to protect the football. You can control an offense and you can control a game around him if he has a hole. He's not the fastest to the hole. He wasn't. I mean, if I see that pitch to Najee on the outside one more time, one more time, you pitch that ball out the not. If I seen it once, I seen it too many times.
Right.
He's a between the tackle runner. He's a play action runner. And again, we were doing fine until the center of our line, which was the guards in the center, hit that rookie wall, and you had too many young dudes. That'll all change this year. This running back is a home run hitter. Johnson can hit the home run. Forget his 40 time that you see it in the combine. That does not mean anything. Take a look at his tape. Take a look at how many times he's run away. That's why he led college in touchdown. Running away. This dude is a runaway train. He may not have as much top end as Henry, but once he gets to the hole, he's just as menacing to bring down. This is a Steeler back. Were there other backs in the draft that may have been better, may have been nicer, may have cut, may have more yards? Yeah. Was there another back in the draft that was more of a Steeler back than this man?
No.
I beg to differ.
He was built to be a Steeler.
Or who specifically fit the system because he ran a lot of the same sort of zone running schemes in college that Arthur Smith likes to employ with the Steelers.
Exactly.
So with that said, I think we're all in agreement that Caleb Johnson is going to make an excellent addition.
I look at him
now
as a hybrid.
What's staying on?
Wait a minute. When I say hybrid, he's not Najee as far as big and menacing, but he can bruise, he can hit you. But he has the vision more like the Le'Veon Bell.
And that's the dude that I would more when I watched a lot of Le'Veon Bell's tape when he came out of Michigan State, watching his highlight tape, I see a lot of what I see in Johnson. And my question is when Johnson gets into camp, do they put weight on him or do they take weight off of him?
I would take a little bit off because I seen that what happens when you take it off.
He gains over 1,000 yards after contact.
Right.
That's a lot of yards after contact.
I'm going to say I don't necessarily, if I'm the Steelers, make his weight a focus
at all this
year. Let him have a year, right, of getting his body used to the NFL.
I mean, he might need that weight to take them hits.
Yeah, just you're going to naturally through the course of a season, NFL players going to pick up generally a little bit of muscle just from all the working out and the routine. You're going to get a little bigger, right? You're going to be a little bit bigger by the end of the season. So let's see where he's at and engage that going forward. I think right now the production that he's shown, we like where he's at, right? Where he shows himself at physically right now. At least that's what came out of the area that'll be our next subject, which is rookie minicamp. But before we go there, let's make sure that we're complete in addressing recap of the draft.
Well,
we talked about.
Let's stay on the offense.
Well, hold on. We got to get through this draft recap, Tom.
Well, we talked about Sawyer.
We talked about Harmon. We talked about Caleb Johnson.
We spoke a little about Sawyer.
We talked about Y.J. Black. That brings us now up to Will Howard in the 6th round. Now, I, for one, having been somebody who was really curious as to whether or not the Steelers were going to go ahead and pull the trigger on Shedeur Sanders as the draft got later. And after having seen the Browns jump back in and sort of swoop him up right before the Steelers had that next pick, well, not the very next pick, but they were picking a little after that, to see them be able to get the quarterback who actually won the national championship as late as the sixth round, and by all accounts performed extremely well in the collegiate playoffs. I was excited just for that alone right away when I saw that they were still able to get Will Howard that late in the draft. And then the more I've seen of his tape, I've only been, quite frankly, more impressed with what I've seen. So,
My take on Will Howard, potentially, I mean, sky's the limit as far as I'm concerned, because he has a few intangibles, which is one is intelligence. He's a super smart kid, and his ability to retain and regurgitate it, we'll speak on a little later in the rookie OTAs, but that's what I've seen. That's what impressed me the most of the footage that I've seen from OTA. You know what I mean? That or the mini camp, I'm sorry. He is very smart. He retains the information that he gets, and he's able to regurgitate it to 10 other people. You can't ask for more than that from a young rookie quarterback.
I'm extremely impressed with the pick of Will Howard. To me, he fits, again, what is your problem? What do you need for your team? Okay, so we talked about the defensive line, we talked about the offensive line, we talked about the running back. Okay, offensive line is going to be better. You have a running game now between
Jalen Warren.
Yeah, you still have Jalen Warren. You have the with Sanu. What's the running back we just picked up from the Colts?
Woods was the receiver,
right? Right. No,
they just got.
It starts with an S. This is that old stuff. I can bring it up real quick.
Why don't somebody?
Yeah, I don't know if I have it.
Well, Google it. Running backs recently signed from Colts.
Let me see what I can do here for you guys, just because I'm having a mind block.
But that's why we're always willing to do free thinking research, folks. One way or another, we'll pull it up and get the answer for that.
But back to what I was saying, as far as what Will Howard, while we bring up the running back, when you look at a quarterback like Will Howard, a lot of great things have been saying about him. I was looking at a lot of things before